students. We are going to have a continuation of the lesson we had last time. Remember, we were dealing with speech writing, and we had seen a lot on the introductory part about writing a speech. We defined speeches, we saw the difference between a speech, a talk, an address, and I hope you remember all that. I put great emphasis, last time we had the lesson hurriedly because of limited time, but I remember I put emphasis on the parts of the speech where we had the introduction and then the body and the conclusion. So when we are writing the speech, those are key areas that we have to put into consideration because they basically put up what we are talking about today. I remember last time I told you that when it comes to speech writing, there are 3 different types of speech that we put focus on. And the first one was the eulogy, which we looked at last time. In that category, there are what we call general speeches, and we hinted on them in our lesson that we had. When we talk of general speeches, I remember I said general speeches include all speeches that do not fall in the category of a eulogy and a vote of thanks. So when we look at the aspect of speech writing and functional writing, these are the key areas that emphasis is put on. If we flash back on what we looked at last time, we looked at the eulogy, and we say this is a speech that is given on a memorial function. We also said it celebrates the life of the deceased, and it expresses feelings, it expresses sentiments, it laments, and consoles. Remember, we had a sample of how this speech is supposed to look like. So the sample gave us what we could term as the format. If you remember very well, when we are still here in school and we are handling the functional writing, we put great emphasis on the format of any aspect in this paper 1, section A. If we do not have the format, then we do not have that aspect. If we present the format in wrongly, that means that is not the aspect. I would like to take you back to this eulogy, if you can remember very well. We looked at what the eulogy should have. If we talk of format of the eulogy, we looked at the structure. Remember, format is structure. And we said, number 1, here we are having a summary. The eulogy should begin with the heading. Then we said the second step should be for us to go to the protocol. And we said here, the protocol should be detailed. I usually love this summary of an aspect because it gives you the structure, and when you're about to write it down, you look at these areas and ensure that you have followed them. Here I say we follow them religiously because we do not have to alter anything here. The moment we twist things around and we begin maybe on the 4th step, whereas we are supposed to begin here, that means that we will not have presented that particular aspect, and therefore we shall miss out on the mark for that aspect. So we talked of the format. We didn't write down this summary that you could see clearly in the sample that you had that day. But how I wish you could write the summary of the eulogy, the structure or the format of the eulogy. Remember, I hope you still remember what we discussed about the heading when it comes to speech. Each aspect of functional writing carries a heading, but what the heading encompasses does differ. You remember, we have to give the speech giver, we have to give the occasion, we have to give the venue, and we have to give the date. So when we come to the protocol, remember we come from highest to lowest. And I emphasized here that when we write the protocol, we have the bereaved family as the highest in rank. Do not mention any other authority there who has come to mourn before mentioning the bereaved family, because it is very key here. Even I remember saying that even if the president was attending the funeral, we shall mention, or we shall list protocol, not beginning with the president who would have had the highest rank here, but beginning with the bereaved family, because this occasion gives it an upper hand. Then we shall come to the president, but ensure that the protocol is so detailed like we saw. Do not give skeleton protocol, because they will not give us marks here. We are expressing ourselves, so we have to play around with language and show somebody that we can speak English in different ways, communicating something small but laying great emphasis on it. So from the protocol, if you have to summarize the eulogy, we say you go to, we cannot miss out on the greetings. Usually when you're writing the eulogy here, the paragraph that carries the protocol will end by giving us the greetings. We shall say good afternoon, good morning, depending on the time that you are giving the speech. I do not expect somebody here to talk about good night. That would be sending people to sleep. That would be a good evening. So from the greetings, we go to the next step of the eulogy. We say the next thing that should come here, it should be the self-introduction. When we begin talking to people, it would be very rude for us to talk to people who do not know us. That is why when it comes to speech writing, we have to introduce ourselves. And in that sample that you had the other time, when you go through it again, you realize that somebody introduced himself. Who is that person that is talking to a given congregation? People must know you and understand you, because after some time they might refer to what you said in that speech, and they will refer to it by even mentioning who said whatever they want to talk about. How will they talk about it if they do not know the person that actually gave them that speech? So when we talk about the self-introduction, after you giving us protocol and ending that paragraph, remember, it would be a better presentation here if we had you writing the protocol, because the speech will begin here, giving us the protocol and the greetings in paragraph number 1. That is why I put 1 here. Paragraph number 1 should have the detailed protocol and end by giving us the greetings. Now, thereafter, we go to the self-introduction. After introducing ourselves, we talked about the issue of you also going ahead to show us the relationship between you and the deceased. I remember saying that by the time they pick on you to give a speech on a funeral, that means you must have had very close relationship with the person that had died. If you have attended funerals, you have seen maybe an employer giving a speech, the siblings giving a speech. If it is the husband that has died, the wife, much as she is so down, she will stand up and say something about the husband that died. So that is relationship. You will tell us who you are, in which capacity you are communicating during this funeral or vigil. So after giving us the relationship, make sure that your eulogy also has what we termed as the contribution. Positive, you can also talk about the positive attributes. What is the contribution? Not your contribution as a speaker, but the contribution of that person that has died. People do very many things. You know, when we are still living, they always tell us to do good when we have the time, because that is what people will talk about when you are gone. If you are somebody who was doing good, you'll always stick on their memory and they'll have something good to talk about you. But there's also one thing I know in our culture, here in Uganda, whatever tribe you are, we do not usually speak ill of somebody who has died. Even when somebody was so terrible, we always look out for the good, because somebody cannot be wholesomely bad. That person will have something good, even if it is 1 or 2 or 3. Sometimes they have to dig deep and get as many as possible and make it as positive as possible. Do not at any one time write a eulogy, and then when you come to positive attributes or the contribution of that person that has died, you begin commenting negatively. That will ruin the eulogy, because we are presenting it exactly the way it is supposed to be in our day-to-day life. So if we cannot stand up and then speak ill of somebody, then we cannot write it down in that way. We cannot present it in the eulogy that we would be asked to give. So give contribution. Sometimes this person was the LC one chairperson where you stay, and he has done so many good things in this village. You talk about them. If this person was a sibling, your sibling has something good that you admire about him or her, has kept the family together, was so caring, was so sacrificing. He would only look up to the other people before he looks at himself. There you are giving the positive attributes, the good things that this person had about him that are quite memorable and admirable. That is what we are supposed to include in this area, where I put contribution or positive attributes. Now, after giving us the positive attributes, then the eulogy will go ahead to give us a consolation. Remember, in our definition, what did we say? A eulogy is a memorial speech that celebrates the life of the deceased. It expresses deep feelings, it laments and consoles. So we cannot give it without giving a consolation. And when I talk about consolation here, you are not going to tell people, please take heart. No, there are some words that are quite comforting, such that even when you are in deep sorrow and somebody says these words to you, they give life back to you. They try to give you the hope. Because by the time we lose our loved ones, we almost lose all the hope and we become hopeless. So to build hope in these people, can we say words that are consoling? As an individual, if somebody dies and maybe as you give the speech, you begin telling me that I know this person was so good. That is what I even always hear people say. This person was so good. He has done great things. He would attend the church or go or have all the 5 prayers in a day. You know, he had tried as much as possible to move within the requirements of religion, and I hope this person has gone to heaven. All of us dream of Jannah. People dream of heaven. So if I'm told that my beloved person has gone to heaven, it gives hope. I am not sure, but those words when mentioned, give me hope. Yes, because we know heaven is very comfortable. That is what we have been told. There's everything we have not seen on earth. So beautiful, good enjoyment. All the torture, all the hardships we go through on earth, we are told they do not exist in heaven. So when I know that the person I love so much is in heaven, I could celebrate that. Much as I've lost the person, I will not see that person again. So go ahead and give statements, talk about things that would console. Look at a scenario where somebody has died, and we have the husband dying, and then the wife, poor woman, she does not work. She's left with children, and then somebody stands to eulogize and says all this that we have talked about. And then when we come here, he says, dear mother of the children. We shall stand with you. We promise to pay fees for these children until when they complete fees. Your only job will be to give us the bank slip, and then we shall ensure these children are in school. We are also going to set up a fund for ensuring that you keep the home safely and even take care of the children. This will give hope to the woman that was thinking about the death of the husband and the children, and she's looking at the world as if it has come to an end. She will have something to lean on. She will say, good enough, I have somebody that will give a hand and help me out of this situation. That is consoling. There are so many ways that we can console a person. It depends on you, and then you pick on what you feel is best for you, and then we use it as our consolation. And our step number 8, we are going to draw our conclusion. When we go through the 3 speeches, you realize that every speech is required to have a particular conclusion. The other time when we had our lesson, I remember telling you that in this conclusion of the eulogy, we shall not miss out the RIP. It is not the only statement we are going to write in that concluding paragraph. There are so many words that will show that we have come actually at the end of our speech, but we cannot obviously skip saying, let the deceased soul rest in peace. So RIP should be expected to appear in the concluding paragraph when you are writing a eulogy. I wanted to take you back so that we get a very clear picture as we try to compare with the other 2 types of speeches that we are going to look at today. Let us straight away go to the general speech. I hope everybody has written that small summary. The summary helps you, the last minute reading, to get the format, the structure, to know what you're supposed to deal with if that particular aspect is tested and have it on your fingertips. Your only job will be to shape or come up with the words, to fill in the areas that we have just talked about. Now let us focus on the general speech. And I said the general speech includes all speeches that do not fall in the category of the vote of thanks or the eulogy. If we are not speaking on a funeral and we are not saying thanks to anybody who has done something or has given us something, then that means that the speech we are yet to give is what we could term as a general speech. We talked of a welcome speech that will fall under the category of a general speech. Now, a general speech is also termed as an ordinary speech. Usually, when we have occasions, maybe we have MDD in school, and you are the head boy of the school, and then it comes to the time for speeches. In order to represent the students' community, you would be called upon to come and give a speech on that particular day. You must have prepared a speech that is in line with the activity that is taking place. So if you are to give a speech, the other time I talked about campaign speeches. When we talk about campaign speeches, they fall in the category of general speeches. And I was saying, I usually don't like the way people campaign here, because the campaigns there are under the category of speeches. You're giving a speech to people, trying to lure them to give you votes. But if you do not know how to deliver it, then people will not love to listen to you. So when we look at the general speech that entails so many speeches apart from the 2 that I have mentioned, it will also have this particular format as we have listed the format of the eulogy. Number 1 step, just like all other aspects under functional writing, is the heading. When you give the ordinary speech, then you give us the heading. We said in our heading, just like the eulogy, give us the speech giver we should see the speech giver, give us the occasion, give us the venue, and give us the date. Where is this, whatever activity it is, where is it actually taking place? Then from the heading, our step number 2 with the general speech. Because it is speech, then we shall go to protocol. By the way, maybe what I didn't tell you, if you present a piece and you miss out this particular part, which is the opening part of the body. We talked of the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. So this protocol will be the introduction to your speech. Because what will the body entail? The body, if it is a campaign, will look at your manifesto. What are the things that you hope you're going to do if you are elected in a particular post that you are contesting for? So when we talk of protocol, we cannot place protocol under body. Protocol will be placed under the introduction and the greetings, and the self-introduction will have made what we term as the introduction of the speech as a whole. So the protocol should not at any one time miss out when we talk about the 3 different types of speeches. Because if you present a writing that does not begin with protocol, or maybe you interchange, like I said, and then you put the protocol in the middle of the speech, if it does not come at the start of it, then it will not be considered a speech. A speech is only identified mostly at the start if the writer is giving us the protocol. You know, when we are giving us speech and people are giving us protocol, I hope, dear students, you have also experienced this. People stand up and say, all protocol observed. If you are giving a speech and you do not mention, and you simply say protocol observed, in English, we do not look at that as right. You have to go down and mention people's different offices, responsibilities, positions, or etc. But protocol observed, some people stand up and simply say protocol observed, and then they begin talking. You know, that will not be the right way if we are to deliver a speech. And even if we are to write it and you begin protocol observed, they will not consider that as protocol. Besides, I emphasize the fact that the protocol here has to be detailed. So make sure your protocol is as good as possible, because the moment it is there, even when somebody is presenting the speech in very poor English, but the protocol is there, this person has already defined the piece that has been put in front of us, and because of this feature, therefore we can immediately categorize it and say what this person is presenting is actually a speech. So the number 1 feature to qualify a piece to be categorized as a speech is the presence of protocol. If you do not begin with a protocol, like I said, you put it in the middle, and they are marking us, we are writing our exams and they are marking us. If they do not see the protocol at the start, then be very sure that they are going to give you 0 out of 20. Protocol is very important in defining this particular aspect of functional writing that we are looking at, which is speech. So when you're dealing with a general speech, that step number 2 is protocol. What is our step number 3? Remember, protocol, we said you marry it with the greetings. So like we did in the eulogy, even here we should also include the greetings. The number 3, where should we go if we are dealing with a general speech? We are going to go to what we term as the self-introduction. Even here, you have to go ahead and introduce yourself. Can we have a self-introduction? I think this is right and fitting if we come back to our school environment. When we contest for these posts and we come up to speech, After the protocol, we shall have to tell people who we are. I am so and so in this particular class. If somebody is in A level, they will tell us I'm so and so, and I do sciences, I do this particular combination, I also belong to this particular house. Because if somebody mentions the house, you might be in position to even lure other people to give you votes, because they are members of that house and they would like to promote or to support somebody that comes from their house. So the introduction is very important, and make it as good as possible to entice people believe in you, to entice people believe that you are the best candidate amongst the contestants for a particular post or action. Now, after you introducing yourself, then we get to the what we can term as number 4 in this general speech. We get to the what you want to communicate, what one wishes to communicate. What do I say what one wishes to communicate? Because I said these are general speeches and they are entailing a number of speeches besides campaigns, welcome, functional speeches, etc. Now, if it is campaigns, what we wish to communicate in this particular part, which is even going to be the body. If you go to the parts of this a speech, this is going to be the body. Here you give your manifesto. If you put me in office, this is what I hope to do. You know, things have been moving this way, but we can as well change to this. And it is very possible, and I feel I can do it. I will have to convince maybe the school administration, and I know they are willing and they will help us for the betterment of Chivuli Secondary School and for the good of the students. So when you come here, if it is a campaign, give your manifesto. If it is a speech, we have had MDD and you have been selected to give a speech on that particular day, this is where you raise your points. Maybe here I can write points. And indeed, when I say points, this is exactly what you want to talk about. If it is MDD and the parents have come and the student community is there, the staff is there, what is it that you would wish to communicate? But remember, it should be in line with the function. We here, when it is campaigns, it is a manifesto. Because here we do not want to hear anything apart from you telling us what you are going to do as a person in that particular office that you are contesting for. Now, if it is MDD, here you'll have something to say that has to do with MDD in Chivuli Secondary School, or has to do with the school. It has to have some bearing or a relationship on that particular function that is going on, or activity that has provoked you to give a speech. Sometimes we come to you and we give you speeches. We have talked about the straight talk. Remember when we are beginning with the speeches, we had a speech, we had a talk, we had an address, and etc. And the talk is also categorized in here. So if it is straight talk, somebody organizes straight talk well knowing what they want to address. What is it that they want to tell the students? Those ones will appear here. We have realized that cleanliness is deteriorating. That is number 1 thing that they will talk about here. We have realized that there's a lot of coupling in school. That is number 2, the point. And here, remember, each point will be in a particular paragraph. You realize that when we talk of this general speech, it will be a long speech depending on what you want to communicate. Every point that you want to put forward should be given its own paragraph. So after you exhausting everything that you want to talk about, we have presented our points, we have presented what we would wish to address, what we would wish people to know, then we come to the conclusion. When you look at the format of a general speech, at a glance, it is quite short as compared to the eulogy. When we are listing the format of the eulogy, we had 8 features there. But when we look at the general speech, we are having 5 features there. So I think when I number like this and I summarize and I remember, I will know when I'm writing this speech that I have to include 5 key areas. If I'm required to write the eulogy, then I'll know that I'm required to write 8 key areas. So as I'm listing them down and I realize they're not making 8, that is one thing to remind me that there's something that is missing out. And that is when you scratch your heads and try to remember as much as possible to ensure that you put up the best of a piece that is required for you to present. So my numbering here and breaking the speeches into the different parts that they have is to help you out summarize the setup or the structure or the appearance or the presentation of that particular aspect. Now the general speech will end there because we have already drawn a conclusion. When we are drawing a conclusion for our eulogy, we said RIP should not miss out. What should we do when we are dealing with a general speech? Are we also going to include RIP in the conclusion? No, that would be wrong. Here we're not dealing with somebody that has died. This one is a general speech. It has nothing to do with laments. It has nothing to do with expression of feelings. No. So, which trick could we use here to ensure that we have a conclusion that is satisfactory? As you mention so many things, as you say out so many words that really show us you're coming to the end of your speech, it is advisable that this particular speech, in its conclusion, should include a joke. Somebody could include a joke, either a joke or a quotation. Sometimes we speak and refer to what other people have said. Either a joke or a quotation, or we could include a call. When I look at the call is even so appropriate when it comes to campaign. Call upon people. Please, on that day, I urge you to cast your vote to none other than Kefa Simpanji, the only one who can satisfy you, who can take you miles ahead, who can serve you. I am here to serve you. That is a call. If that comes in your conclusion, you are calling upon them. So you choose amongst these areas which one could serve most and which one can you handle very well to be inclusive in the conclusion that you are drawing. So basically, I would say that when you look at the parts of a general speech, those are the 5 key areas, or that is the format that we have to use when we are dealing with a general speech. I would wish to take you to the vote of thanks. I assume all of us have looked at the structure and we are drawing comparison between eulogy and now the general speech. You also realize that when we come to the general speech, there are areas that we have abandoned because they do not qualify to come in here, since these are different types of speeches. Maybe that explains why they have been categorized the way we have categorized them. They have been named the way we have termed them. The eulogy has its demands and contents vis-a-vis these other speeches that we are talking about. So that means when you are tested on speech, you should be keen to read the question and then tell which particular speech the examiner is demanding for, and then sit down and then look at the layout or structure of that particular speech that you are supposed to present by looking at the areas that we have presented here so far. I would wish to take you to the third aspect that we are supposed to handle under the speech, and that is the vote of thanks. The vote of thanks is the third one. Like I said, we have to look at 3 key areas. So the vote of thanks is the third one. What would we say a vote of thanks is? I think the words here define it. Let us forget about vote. It will confuse you with the campaigns. No, the word that defines the aspect is there. A vote of thanks. We have seen people give vote of thanks. When do we give vote of thanks? I said a vote of thanks is given if somebody gives us something, or is an activity that takes place and we are appreciative. We usually give a vote of thanks when to express appreciation. We talk of appreciation, we can talk of gratefulness. You know, in societies, we know it is very hard for people to say thank you. But it is polite, and it shows that somebody is cultured. If somebody does something and you thank them. So if somebody gives us something, if somebody carries on an activity that is to our benefit, and we feel he has given us good service, he has done us good, then we could come out and give a vote of thanks. I hope you have noticed this, that in most cases when somebody communicates something very educative to us, at the end of the day, sometimes we tell you who is going to give a vote of thanks on behalf of the rest of the class. You give a vote of thanks because you are appreciating whatever has been done to you, the service that this person has given to you, by sparing time, by enlightening you, by giving you knowledge on a particular thing, and you feel this person deserves to be thanked. So you give a vote of thanks because you are appreciating. You give a vote of thanks because you are grateful for what that person has done. So the vote of thanks will only come after something has happened and we feel we owe somebody thanks. We owe to say thank you to those people. And in our daily life, we should also train ourselves to say thank you to people who have done something, however small it is. Even when you are in your home where you are right now, and you know, it is right and fitting for you as a child to do some house chores back home. But when you mop the house and mommy says, oh, wow, the house is so clean, thank you. It gives you the guts of even doing it again tomorrow because you are appreciating. It is so good to appreciate people who do us good. In most cases, we enter class, we teach you, we talk and talk, we fight with you, and when we walk out, none of the students can even say, thank you, teacher, because you feel it is a must for us to teach you. But we have done you a service, even where you pay fees. It is polite and fitting for you to say thank you. It would be very good when the teacher is walking out and then you say, thank you, teacher. That is why right down in primary, when the teacher is walking out of class, the pupils will stand up and say, thank you, teacher, for teaching us. I remember when we were still young in those primary schools of ours, we would stand and thank our teacher. But here, oh my God, people just look at you and they are waiting for the hour for you to get out. They dread your presence in class, and when you get out, they say, oh, instead of saying, thank you, teacher, because we use a lot of energy. We go and make research to educate you for the benefit of you and your family and your clan and your parents and maybe the school and us. Okay? Learn to say thank you. So this vote of thanks is going to show us if we are saying thank you to somebody, how are we supposed to do it? Sometimes somebody is picked on to give a vote of thanks. They only stand up and they are not sure of what to say. And they are, modeling, dancing around. The arrangement of their speech is not so clear because they do not know how they are supposed to give that particular vote of thanks. So when we give a vote of thanks, how is it supposed to be? One thing we know is that a vote of thanks is part of a speech, which means for us now we have a clue on how a vote of thanks should be. We have already said none of these can qualify to be a speech if it does not have the protocol. So the vote of thanks here should have one, a heading, just like the other parts of speech that we have looked at. It should have a heading. Who is the person giving the vote of thanks? Obviously, there's somebody giving the vote of thanks. The vote of thanks is not coming from the air. Just like we looked at the other speeches, they're not coming from the air. There's somebody who is giving the eulogy. There's somebody who is giving the ordinary speech. Now that there's somebody who is giving us the vote of thanks, then we begin with the title that gives us the speech giver. And here, we should go ahead and look at the occasion. Give speech giver. Go ahead and occasion. We give vote of thanks on particular occasions. Was it simply an address? Did we have visitors coming to our school? And then there's some things that we had with them, we interacted, we did the other, and at the end of the day, as they are about to go, we thank them for having come, we thank them for doing this. That must have been an organized function or occasion where something had to take place. Now somebody is going to ask me, teacher, you're talking of a heading and we have to give a vote of thanks, but somebody has done something in our home. What occasion will that be? You want to give a vote of thanks, but you will not come up and give a vote of thanks. When you stand up and say, thank you, Dad, we do not consider that as a vote of thanks. You know, a vote of thanks is bigger than the two words which are thank you. Much as when we give a vote of thanks, they are entailed in the vote of thanks. A vote of thanks is bigger than that. When you say thank you to your parents, your siblings back home, that is not a vote of thanks. But you will prepare yourselves as siblings and say, maybe during the day when mommy is not around and dad is not around, and you say, but you people, daddy has really provided for us. Can you believe the situation we are going through? He has provided this, he has managed to pay for us the fee for e-learning. He has also given us data. Remember, he bought us phones. Don't you think it is right and fitting for us to say thanks to our parents? Then when they come back home, all of you will sit. You know, you have now made it formal. The thank you that we give for somebody who has done something is informal. It becomes formal because we have to follow a given trend. There is a formality that we have to follow. So when we come down and then we give a vote of thanks that is so formal, the heading will be there. There will be a particular occasion. Now when you organize yourself, that will be a thanksgiving to the family. You want to say thank you to daddy, so you wait for them to see, and then you say, dear daddy, we are now here. You have made it a little formal. It kind of becomes a kind of occasion that you could label something when you were writing it down. Here we are looking at circumstances where that person has to write the speech. Now we should not only follow this when we are writing, we should also follow this when we are giving the speech. But remember, I want you to draw a difference between a written speech and a speech that has delivered. It is only and only under written speeches that we shall have a heading. Don't be so dumb. You come to talk to people because Madam Nahia said a speech should have a heading. Here you are communicating to people and then you begin with a heading. That would be madness. We are talking about heading because we are looking at written speeches. We are going to write these speeches in exams. So if we are writing them down, then they should carry a heading. But when you stand to campaign, don't begin with the heading. And the heading today on this occasion, no. An oral speech does not carry a heading. Your oral speech will begin on our step number 2, which is the protocol. But the written speech will begin on step number 1, which is the heading. I hope I'm very clear there, because people would have mixed up the two and even stand up and begin formulating headings for a speech they are delivering at that particular moment, an oral one. No. So after that, you will go to protocol. Obviously, there will be people there, people that fall in different categories. Even a vote of thanks does carry the protocol. Begin with a protocol. Remember, we said somebody that clearly defines an aspect as a speech is the presence of protocol. And the 3 different speeches, like we have seen, have all carried protocol. Now, after you giving protocol in the vote of thanks, protocol, just like the other speeches, is accompanied by what? Is accompanied by greetings. So after you giving us the protocol and the greetings, then step number 3 would be a summary of, if it was an activity, summary of the activity that was taking place, of which you are giving a vote of thanks, or summary, it could be summary of activity or summary of the ideas. Remember, when you go to senior 4 and then we bring facilitators in different subjects and they are taking you through maybe your chemistry and they are trying to make things very clear for you, clearer maybe where you did not get them with your teacher, and then you give a vote of thanks. Those will be ideas. That is not an activity. The ideas that they dealt with, what is it that they were emphasizing? You summarize. What does that show? That you have been attentive and you indeed picked from what was being presented. So, summarize either activity. When I talk of activity, how are you going to summarize the activity? We always have Stanbic competitions here, where people go out to debate and then Stanbic gives us awards and etc. The other time they came here and they planted trees because our debating club had emerged #1 in the Stanbic competitions. And then they came, they planted trees. So somebody stands up to give a vote of thanks and says, we are indeed grateful for your coming here and interacting with us as we plant trees here to make Chibuli green and also respect nature. Those are what? That is an activity. I hope it should be upon your discretion here to know what exactly has taken place. And then when you come to summarizing here what has taken place, place it basing on what has happened. So summarize the ideas, summarize the activity that has taken place. Then after that, here, when you're summarizing, what is expected? Usually, or sometimes, it entails promising. After summarizing, go ahead and give promises. If it is a facilitator that has come to facilitate you in a given subject, and you have already summarized the ideas, after that, go ahead and promise. We are promising you that what you have told us today, we are going to ensure we put it in practice. And we are promising you that we are going to read hard, basing on what you have said, and we are going to produce very good results for this school. You are giving promises. Imagine a company comes from out there and gives Chibuli Secondary School laboratory equipments. We are given test tubes, we are given pendulums, we are given cylinders to use in our laboratory. They donate them to us. And then you are picked on to give a vote of thanks. You're going to summarize. We thank you for having given us the cylinders that we are going to use when we are carrying out these experiments. The test tubes that will be enough for every student to do our practicals. You are now summarizing the activity. Then when you come to promise, we are going to put very good use to them. We shall ensure we do not break or damage them, and we hope this will take us a step higher as far as science subjects are concerned in Chibuli Secondary School. You are promising. So you realize that the summary will also be concluded by giving promises depending on what has taken place. If daddy has paid fees and you have organized the siblings to say thank you, and you say thank you, you'll also say, we are promising you to become very good children that will make you very proud. And we hope when you grow old, we shall take care of you just like you have taken care of us. You are giving promises. So you realize that a vote of thanks at every point will have a particular way of promising because of what has been done. So after you summarizing the ideas and then taking us into the promises because you feel whatever has happened is of great benefit, then we are not supposed to forget that what we are supposed to do here is to thank. Then go ahead and thank. Here I use words that pour out your gratefulness, your appreciation. We extend our sincere gratefulness. We extend our hearty thanks to you for having considered no other school but us. Words cannot express how grateful we are. Here you realize that you will have to repeat yourselves using very different words that show how grateful you are. Because when I say I appreciate, I thank, I'm indeed grateful. I am saying the same thing, but I am saying it in different ways. But if I say the same thing in different ways, that means I am emphasizing I'm emphasizing that particular point, and I want you to know that I'm indeed grateful for what you have done. Because it is a vote of thanks, then this area will go to pour out your heartfelt gratefulness to that person that has done you good, that you feel does deserve a vote of thanks. Then after you thanking that person, we shall go to step number 5. We shall have a conclusion. The conclusion here, if you are, if somebody was here to help us tell us, we looked at the conclusion for eulogy, RIP. We looked at the conclusion for general speech, either a joke or a quotation or a call. Then we looked at the conclusion. We are looking at the conclusion for the vote of thanks. What should the conclusion of a vote of thanks include in it? As you say those words there, that really show us you are ending your speech here. What should we expect to be included in there? In the vote of thanks, in your conclusion, you should throw, here we said, throw an open window for further interaction. This conclusion should throw an open window for further interaction. What does it mean? When I am concluding and then I say, you know, you're always welcome in Chibuli. the gates of Chivuli will always be open for you. I am throwing an open window for further interaction. Somebody has come to facilitate us. Remember, you're going to leave senior 4 and go to senior 5. How are you going to throw an open window to this person? Are you going to tell him, please come back and facilitate us? But this is a person that facilitates O level. And now we are moving to another step of A level. How are you going to tell this person to come back? You say, we have really enjoyed and benefited from your presentation. Or how we wish that come next year, you come back to Chivuli SS and give the same to our brothers and sisters who are now in senior 3. You have invited them back. They do not come and you feel like, oh my God, I wish they could move out the next minute. Even when you feel so, you have to be as polite as possible and show that you have really liked what they have been doing, and therefore they should come again and give the same service. So when you talk about throwing an open window for further interaction, invite the person to come back. If it is not facilitation, if it is for something else, that person can always come back and give it to you. If we had somebody entertaining you on Saturday and you feel it was so good, and then you have to thank him for the entertainment, and then you say, please, we have really enjoyed. We pray that you find time, maybe after a month or so, and you come back and you release the stress in us. You know, when we are here in school and we are reading books and they are demanding work from us, sometimes we get stressed. And it is those people that help us to release the stress in us. And then you tell this person, please find time and come back, because we feel we have not had enough of you. If it were possible, you cannot give a vote of thanks to the teacher that has told you, because you would make it very formal. The only thing you would say is thank you, which is in an informal way of we cannot categorize it under speech. By the time it comes speech, it has become formal. Remember, when we had started this particular aspect, we talked of formal speeches, and I even had somebody asking me, are there informal speeches? Now, when you look at vote of thanks, this is quite formal. Whereas when you tell a friend, thank you, don't say because you have told a friend thank you, therefore you have given a vote of thanks. The vote of thanks come in a formal way because it has a particular formality that has to be followed. And it would be madness if a friend gave you a pen and there you are saying, my dear friend, members around, I would wish to thank this person. No! Let us understand when we are supposed to give a vote of thanks, which is formal, and when we are supposed to informally thank our friends out there. So the vote of thanks will have a conclusion that will have that particular part in it. And if we have these 5 parts, then we have actually looked at the format of a vote of thanks. Remember, with these aspects, all you have to master is the format of a particular aspect. Like I said, I number for you to always remember what is supposed to be included. Now, when you look at the vote of thanks, we have 5 particular areas. We also realized that with the general speech, we had 5 particular areas to look at. But the eulogy had 8 particular areas that we had to make sure are inclusive if we are going to claim that what we are writing does fall in the particular categories that we have looked at. So having looked at the 3 different kinds of speeches, and that means we have looked at what we are supposed to study as far as speech is concerned. I would like you to look at your screens where we have posted a sample. The first sample brings out the general speech. And we have looked at the general speech. And remember, when we are looking at the steps we have to follow here, when we are writing the general speech, we said we begin with the heading. Now look at the heading here on our general speech. It is saying, head prefect speech delivered on the school's speech day held in Best Brains High School main hall on 24th March 2016. I hope that is well. It has all we need as far as the heading is concerned. We have the speech giver, and the speech giver is none other than the head prefect. We have we have the occasion. The occasion is the speech day. We have the venue. Where is the speech day taking place? The speech day is taking place in Best Brains High School, and in the main hall in particular. And then we have the date, which is 24th March 2016. Maybe to make clarification there, look at the heading. The heading, like we said, has to have uppercase. We have to use capital letters throughout. Now these are darkened because we are using a computer. When it comes to your writing, that heading has to be underlined. Capital letters and underline. But there's one error that I'm seeing as far as the heading is concerned. Look at how they have written the date. This thing in English is not acceptable. Just like you write your mathematics and you say 2 power 3. When you say 24th, in English we are saying 24th power, th. Our th is supposed to be on the same line. So when you're writing, dear students, make sure you do not make the same mistake. We are looking at a sample, so if it has a mistake in it, then this is the right time for us to make the mistake right, so that we do not make the same mistake. But we have if we pull the th down, the good thing, we have the comma after the month, and then we have the full stop when we come to the year. Now when you look at the sample there, we said after you giving us the heading there, then we go to our protocol. The first paragraph should present the protocol. Let us look at the first paragraph. It says, our guest of honor, who is none other than our area member of parliament, Honorable Amiri Mwisho, the district education officer, members of the board of governors, other invited guests in your respective capacities, the teaching staff of Best Brains High School, students, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Wow, that is superb. That is the best introduction. We talked about a detailed protocol. The protocol is detailed because it is not only saying our dear member of parliament. Remember, the highest in rank here is the member of parliament, and he has even acted as a guest of honor. For somebody who has a skeleton protocol, that person would have simply said, our dear guest of honor. I hope you see the difference between somebody who is saying, our dear guest of honor, comma, and then goes to the district education officer, comma, members of the board, comma, the teaching staff, comma, students, ladies and gentlemen. That would even narrow down our introduction in the sense that it would not even produce a bigger paragraph the way we have it here. We are not after you presenting a big paragraph, but we are after you expressing yourself in the best way possible. Indeed, it sounds right and fitting and, musical and sweet to our ears if somebody says, our guest of honor, who is none other than our area member of parliament, Honorable Amiri Mwisho. That detailed thing, it is only talking about one particular position, one particular person, but with so many words because they are testing English. Can you express yourself and then rhyme and then communicate smoothly? Yes, then you deserve marks. The moment you only say our guest of honor, that means you do not even know English, and there's no way you can express yourself using so many words to say something to show that you can communicate satisfactorily. Now this writer here is communicating satisfactorily, and indeed the writer has given us a very good protocol, Detailed. So when I talk about detailed, that one is so detailed. Guest of honor, who is the member of parliament, honorable so and so. Detailed. That one post has so much that has been said about it, because this person wishes to express him or herself. So that is what we mean by detailed protocol. Now when it comes to the second person to be talked about here, the second in rank, it is the district education officer. You'll forgive us for somebody who typed this person joined the words, and remember it is not acceptable in English that word district educational has been joined, whereas they are supposed to be two words. So I beg you draw a line to show that there are two words and do not make the same mistake. Now it does not mean, there's one other thing that we are learning here. When I talk about the detailed protocol, it does not mean that for every post that you're going to mention here, for every position you're going to mention here in the protocol, you should give it details. You realize that with the first one, it was detailed. With the second one, it was narrowed. Otherwise, if the writer did the same thing, gave so many details about the education officer, then we would have what we would term as monotony for everything. For everything we are seeing you rhyming and babbling and doing what? No, give breaks. You have to show skill here. When we talk about skill, this is what it means for somebody to have a very good skill when it comes to writing. This one can play around with language and twist it here and know what to do here and there. So when we come to the second person, at least that one has been narrowed down by simply saying the district education officer. Then goes members of the board of governors. Somebody can go ahead and say members of the board of governors of this great institution, Chibuli Secondary School. If we add that, we have detailed the board of governors, other than us simply saying the members of the board of governors. Then we have other invited guests. I don't love the way the writer says in your respective capacities. No, here you would rather say other invited guests. We said the other time we started with speech that we should always end protocol with ladies and gentlemen, because ladies and gentlemen will now bring in the other people that have not been mentioned. If you are not a teaching staff, if you're not the guest of honor, if you are not among the members of the board, if you are not among the students, then when I say ladies and gentlemen, then I have placed you there. Why do you say it is? You could say yes, other invited guests, but I don't I don't think it is necessary for you to go ahead and say in your respective capacities. That would sound like what I said when somebody said all protocol observed. Then after giving us the protocol, I hope you realize that somebody ends by saying good afternoon. Can we also correct that error that this writer makes? After ladies and gentlemen, the writer uses a comma. It is supposed to be a full stop, because the protocol has ended there and the greeting is something different, which means when it comes to good afternoon, the G is supposed to be capital G, so that the good afternoon is a sentence of its own. It begins there and ends there. So we have that as our introduction, and it has the protocol. Then who can deny us marks? When they are giving us marks for detailed protocol, we have it. The greetings are there, well placed and well punctuated. Remember, when we punctuate them poorly, we are at a losing end. So we make correction there. That will make our first paragraph, which has given us protocol and the greetings. We said after that we go to self-introduction. Now this person has said, my name is Lina Seninde, the head prefect of this school. Self-introduction. We said you cannot talk to people who do not know who you are. So after the first paragraph, the self-introduction now comes in. This person introduces herself as Lina Seninde and even goes ahead to tell us in which capacity, because you don't come to address us when you are a nobody. We should know who are you and in which capacity are you addressing us. So that is why this person says the head prefect of this school. After the N, you realize there is a mistake still. We have a full stop, which full stop is not supposed to be there. Then Seninde, when I say that the third step is for you to present self-introduction, you're not only going to have that statement there that gives us the self-introduction and then you sit back and relax, my dears. No, the self-introduction opens that paragraph, but there are words that are supposed to spice it up, to accompany it, because what you're giving is a speech. No wonder that is why you see that when we look at our sample here, after Lina introducing herself, to build the paragraph, to spice up, to back up the self-introduction, Lina says, I feel honored to be part of this colorful and auspicious occasion this afternoon. It does not mean that you will end on my name is and what you are. Go ahead and fill in these other parts to supplement the introduction, just like the writer has done here by saying, I feel honored to be part of the colorful and auspicious occasion. Indeed, when I receive a message of invitation, I ask myself what I should share with important people like you. Do you realize that is all adding to the introduction? I'm very happy to stand before you, and your coming in large numbers bears testimony for your concern and love for the school. You are welcome. Wonderful. Look at that paragraph. You are welcome. Look at how the person communicates. The skeleton of areas that I gave you here, like I am stating, those are skeletons that are key areas that we have to see, but they should be given flesh. So what Lina here is doing has gone to the area in the general speech where we are introducing ourselves, and that skeleton of the format that I put down here has been given flesh by the words that have accompanied the self-introduction in that particular paragraph. And I hope you notice that all these areas that I've listed here, the writer has actually given them paragraphs. So when you look at the third one, it says, ladies and gentlemen, allow me highlight a number of issues. There are particular achievements which all our students associate themselves with. I'm happy to report that teamwork and collective responsibility is what all students here believe in. When you look at your skeleton, when you look at your format, I think you can tell where Lina has gone now. Lina has gone to that particular part when we have come to the speech itself by pointing out the points or areas that Lina would wish to put forward. Now she has started to communicate. We are in that particular part where we said, you talk about what you want to say, you raise your points, and then finally you will have a conclusion. Says, ladies and gentlemen, now the proceedings paragraph you'll go through. I want us to go to paragraphs. I want us to go to the conclusion. How does Lina conclude this speech? Says, I take this opportunity to thank our parents for supporting us by paying the fees. You have shown responsibility and promised that. Then this is the word of thanks. No, yeah. Lina is concluding here. The parents have come to attend. Promise that we shall always compete with our neighbors and beat them in any activity that comes. Believe me, we can. Once again, I thank you for coming and wish you journey masses back to your domicile. We realize that now the speech has come to a conclusion. The only thing we do not see here, we cannot penalize Lina here, but it would be so meaningful if Lina also added what we talked about when we looked at the conclusion that could work as far as the general speech is concerned. Let us also go to the sample of the vote of thanks. I can see Nanono Kavuma here saying, is the number of paragraphs supposed to depend on the key areas, as in every key area takes its own paragraph? Now when I drew the format and I numbered the format 1, 2, 3, that means those are different areas. And because they are areas, remember our rule as far as paragraphing is concerned. When do we paragraph? We paragraph every time we enter into a new idea. A protocol is different from summarizing. So there is no way you can put this in the same paragraph. This has to be a paragraph, this has to be a paragraph, this has to be a paragraph of its own. Because when I thank, I've run away from summarizing the activities or ideas. It is so different. If we mix them up, then we are not paragraphing the right way we are supposed to paragraph as far as English is concerned. Which means, as I numbered, those are the paragraphs that have to run when we are dealing with that particular activity. I would wish to take you back to the vote of thanks. The vote of thanks, like we said, begins with the heading, and the vote of thanks that you have there has a vote of thanks delivered by the head prefect during the music, dance, and drama competitions held on 20th March 2019 in the school's main play field. The heading has it all. Now let us look at the protocol. The Minister of Education, Honorable Juma Kadu, the head teacher, our dear parents, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. This writer here makes the same mistake just like the writer we saw in the general speech. When we use a comma at the end of protocol, and then we begin with small g when we come to greetings. And we said we have to make sure we rectify that. It is still Lina Senide. So Lina says, begins introducing herself. Now you realize where she has introduced herself, she was supposed to create another paragraph because the self-introduction is different from the protocol. What has provoked Lina to put the self-introduction together with the protocol is the fact that Lina has protocol that is too small. It cannot in any way help us write this speech and beat the number of words we are supposed to present. So if only Lina had done something more as far as the protocol is concerned, then she wouldn't have found herself mixing up the self-introduction with the protocol in this vote of thanks. So I think you can see that and you can put it right. Now when you come down here, she says, on behalf of the students of Bright High School and on my own behalf, let me extend our heartfelt gratitude to our beloved Minister, Honorable Juma Kadu, for sparing his precious time to be with us today. Go back to the vote of thanks. We said summary of the main activity. It is a drama competition. Lina would have gone ahead to talk about what has transpired. We have seen a lot here. The students have exhibited their talents in the dance, in the drama, and in the music. We have heard sweet sounds and melodies in our ears. That would summarize before Lina comes to what she's presenting right here. So you realize here, the vote of thanks, you have to patch it up. Having had all the parts that have to be included there, looking at the skeletons that I gave you, I want you to look at the samples that I've given you. Where the writer has gone wrong, now the work you have is to ensure that you patch it up and ensure that it comes out the way it is supposed to be. Where the writer messes here and there, you help out and ensure that we have the right format for that particular aspect. We have so far seen that somewhere here, as far as the vote of thanks is concerned, Lina has gone wrong. Then she says, may we give him a loud hand of applause? Yes, that is okay. And that can also come when you have expressed yourself when it comes to the area of thanking, and you have used so many words, and then you ask for a loud hand of applause, because it is another way of saying thank you. Let us see how Lina ends this. She says, once again, we would like to thank you for honoring our invitation and for gracing this occasion. We would like to assure you that the gates of Bright Students High School will always be open for you, and we are looking forward to receiving you again. Now, in that conclusion, Lina has done exactly what is required of her. She has thrown an open window for further interaction. She sums it up by saying, ladies and gentlemen, join me as we give hands of applause to our gallant minister. May God lead you on your journey back home. Thank you very much. Indeed, these are good samples that would guide us as far as writing the aspects of speech that we have studied are concerned. And now that we have run short of time, I think we do not have any other question apart from the question that we had from Nanono, and I wish you the best. Please go and practice and try to write out different pieces on the 3 areas of speech that we have looked at today, and check yourself whether you can do it, having the guidance that we have and the samples that would also help you, guide you on what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to copy them the way they are. They're supposed to be guidelines to you. They give you the guidance on how to do it, and then you shape something that is of your own. I wish you a good day. See you next time when we come. Yes, man. Yes, man.